Alec Baldwin issued a statement saying that he regrets having bullied women. He said, I certainly have treated women in a very sexist way at the Paley Center for Media at an event he did in New York City. He says, I've bullied women, I've overlooked women, I've underestimated women, not as a rule. From time to time, I've done what a lot of men do, which is when you don't treat women the same way you treat men, you don't. I'm from a generation where you really don't, and I'd like that to change. I really would like that to change. He also said that it's been a very eye-opening experience for him personally. We've got to be vigilant in a new way to make sure that everybody is comfortable and that we get the job done together that we're here to do. Now, this is juxtaposed to a recent story where there was a writer from a place called The Decider who wrote a story saying that referencing Alec Baldwin not having made a statement about a director he'd worked with who had been accused of sexual harassment. So does this balance it out? This is about sexual assault, so we're not gonna do 5 words or less, but Alec Baldwin, how do you respond to someone who comes out and admits that they've been sexist? It's an admission, but then again, they're taking responsibility, but they also have done something bad.
When I read this story, I thought, well, Alec Baldwin was also 10 years ago caught calling his daughter a lazy pig in an answer. Yeah, so it's like I kind of take what I read about Alec Baldwin being good with a grain of salt. But in this case, I'm gonna choose to be positive about it because for the last 2 months we've had these stories about sexual assault and it's just a lot of negativity, right? So your question was, how do you feel about someone admitting? Well, good, better late than never, right? Mm-hmm. What didn't like vibe with me in the article was the way he was like, I just didn't know this was going on. People are uncomfortable in Hollywood, and we need to be vigilant and make sure people feel comfortable. And this is not. But yeah, you were the guy making people not feel comfortable whenever back in the day. So good for him, I guess. I give him a round of applause for coming to that because I think that we're put on this earth to grow and to learn from our mistakes. And I want to err on the side of forgiveness for him. So awesome, Alec Baldwin. Yeah, I mean, you're not an asshole. Now, today.
Keep not being an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. I too took a positive spin on it. I think it's great that he's owning up to the things that he did. But I also want to see some follow up with his words. He's like, I want to change. I want this industry to change. I want the whole, just how women are treated, how people are treated in this industry to change. So I want him to take ownership of his words and actually do something about it. Whether that be to speak out when he sees, when people are being treated bad, speaking out against higher powered people in the industry. So I think the first step in that is being like, hey, I'm not perfect. I have, done some things that I'm not too proud of when it comes to treating people badly in this industry. But I want to change and I want to see change. So I guess I'm just kind of like, okay, that's great. But I also am just kind of waiting to see how he takes ownership of his words.
It's like potential is only attractive for so long, right?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
It becomes like, okay, well, what are you gonna follow through with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to hold yourself accountable before you hold others accountable. I think that all sounds good. I also have this weird feeling that there have been a lot of people coming forward that I think they might be sort of coming forward as a precursor to
Grace, agreed.
just in case something bad could come out, because it seems like that's the climate we're in. Disclaimer. I am saying that I did it first.
Right.
Like I said it first. But I don't know that, and I'm not sure that that's neither here nor there. But thought did sort of cross my mind. I'm reminded about. I have the same feelings that I had about Quentin Tarantino's statement as I sort of do with Alec Baldwin's, in the sense of like, I prefer this than a publicist's statement that you sort of released half-heartedly. I prefer at least owning up to any sort of culpability that you feel that you might have shared in furthering this really toxic culture for so long. So yay, that's good. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. He also, disabled he said he's not gonna be tweeting from his main Twitter account anymore, but the Baldwin Foundation will be going on because he got into some sort of a back and forth with Rose McGowan, basically in the interview saying that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but just sort of calling into question her settlement with Harvey Weinstein, and perhaps if she had taken that to if she had prosecuted her case, then maybe this would have come out earlier. It's very murky. And then when he was called out for it, he responded saying like, yeah, I'm gonna totally backpedal and I'm just gonna stay off of Twitter right now. So it seems like he's just calling himself out, and that is his prerogative to do so if he feels.
And this is the right way to do it?
Well, I mean, I don't think there is a wrong or right way. I echo what you said though, Grace, because that also, I had that thought like, okay, are people just saying, listen, back in 1985, September 27, 1985, I was a douche, just one girl at Coffee Bean. I don't know if she's around, but let me just put it out there. So like, don't come for me 30 years later, but there's really no, I mean, seriously, because
I don't think she's an actual mocha latte.
But, I looked at her, but there really is no wrong or right way. I mean, Alec Baldwin's been on Twitter. He's in the past been very rancorous and very direct with his tone on Twitter. Some things he says, like telling that one lady you should go back to divorces and plastic surgery.
Right.
And so he
covering them in the magazine and let real journalists cover things.
Right.
Hers, yeah.
No, but like as of late, we're fans of Alec Baldwin because he's been so amazingly beautiful and just talented on SNL. So I think I want to be like, okay, Alec Baldwin, this is cool. But part of me thinks like, okay, his team behind the scenes is like, yo, homie, how are we gonna keep you the good guy here? Because you have a history of being a douchebag. But your question was, is this the right way to go about doing it? Sure, why not? I mean, how else? What else?
I was gonna say, let's point it back to you, Brett. Do you think this is the right way of handling it?
Yeah, I think the best way for it, you can only control how you handle things yourself. I think this is good. And I think I'm reacting to this in a way that this is just a sign of the tide turning. When people like Alec Baldwin come out, and whether it's for fear of an old story surfacing or just a genuine regret over things that he potentially might be overblowing in his mind that maybe no one noticed.
Yeah.
If it's either of those extremes, the more people take a stance of sexual harassment in the workplace, in Hollywood, in anywhere is unacceptable, that's a really good thing. I talked to some friends, I used to work at a talent agency, and I asked about what the feeling is in like Hollywood. And you don't have to go searching very far to find out that the talent agency life has a legacy of being very rough, terrible, and just the worst. Watch Entourage, watch the movie adaptation, read the book The Mailroom, which is a really fascinating account. But it used to be real rough. I talk to people who work there now, they're like, no. If a even moderately questionable text message is sent, then HR steps in and is like, what did you mean? Where is this going? We need to stop. Where it used to be when I was there was one guy who was in charge of that stuff and one woman. And they were great, super awesome people. Now there's an actual department called the HR department. That's not two people.
Yeah, the film studio I worked at, we didn't have an HR department.
Right.
We had to say that we technically did, and it was the lawyer that worked there. But like, I would never go and talk to him. I mean, he was a nice guy, but fortunately, I didn't have to. It was just like, it was clearly not his job. And they were just like, if anyone asks, go to Neil.
Neil's the guy.
Neil is HR.
You don't want to have to see Neil.
I was like, Neil, did you know about this? He's like, yeah, it's just what they say. I'm like, all right, Neil.
But yeah, so what do you guys think about this? I mean, it's a tough time that we're in. It seems like we're making a form of progress. Is it enough? What do you think of Alec Baldwin's statement? Give us your thoughts in the comments section below.